Hi, I'm CJ Elmberg with Transwest Truck Trailer V in Frederick, Colorado. We've got an incredible trailer sitting behind us here that we're going to walk you through. This is a 2026 Cimarron Norstar 8-horse trainer tack, air ride, pod. I can go on and on and on, but we're going to show you this trailer. Before we start walking you through it, let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing. I'll show you some specs on the trailer and how it's laid out. On the floor, this trailer is a shade over 36 foot, 36.3 on the floor. It is 8 wide. It is extra tall, being 7'4" tall. The short wall on the dressing room is going to be 5'6", and then we have that 4-foot offset, and that's how all the dividers are going to lay too, with that type of offset with that partition wall. But this is a spread axle, air ride, Werm flooring. It's got it all. So bear with us. We're going to walk you through this entire trailer and show you all the cool features on this one here. We'll start up at the front of this trailer. We'll just look, you've got that polished stainless sheet on the nose itself, dresses the trailer up. 3 marker lights on that top rail. This would be a trailer that we would, in the past, put that option on, but now it's a standard feature. We really like to do it on our trainer trailers, our bigger trailers, our living quarters, but now that's part of it. I'll show you more of those button marker lights as we get to the side of the trailer, because this one's got some extras on it, so it'll look really cool at night when it's lit up. This has got a B&W coupler. Cimarron a few years ago teamed up with B&W, and B&W has developed this. We've gotten customer feedback, our feedback, manufacturer feedback to come up with about this 3rd generation of it. This is an ideal trailer where this 3rd generation of this comes in, because this has the lower profile handle, which allows for this lower hole to be drilled. The one previous had a real tall handle. Well, you couldn't get that hole drilled in there. So if you're going to haul this with like a hauler, semi, something along those lines, it was really hard to get it adjusted to run nice and level by sliding that coupler up into that sleeve. Now we can go either way, and again, it gives us a lot of flexibility there. It's rated for 25,000 pounds. When we get underneath the gooseneck, this is a big trailer. So not only are we going to put a hydraulic jack on it, we opt for 2 of them. I've seen some trailers out there this size that have a single leg. Look, this is a big trailer. You have the potential to leave a lot of tack and a lot of stuff on the front end of this, but boy, is it nice to be able to push a button and up and down this trailer goes. With the dual setup, you also get dual switches. So it's really nice just from the user standpoint of being able to hook this up to a truck. Because what happens is, if for some reason you're not perfectly square underneath that ball, and maybe it's kind of shifted towards driver's side, well, I can actually tip it towards passenger side just a little bit by utilizing those dual switches, and actually tip it and walk it directly onto the ball itself. And again, it's just nice to have this lift capacity with having the duals. We'll start over here to the left of this passenger side leg here. What we've got is we've got our brake pump. So this trailer is equipped with electric over hydraulic disc brakes. That's our pump for that guy. So really strong, stopping power on this trailer. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the axles. Spare tires located somewhat in the middle, kind of shifted over there towards that passenger side. And then with the jack setup, you're gonna get this aluminum battery box. It's gonna house a 12-volt battery with a battery disconnect. That is a standard package now. One of the other things that's been added to this standard package with hydraulic jacks is gonna be this guy right here. It's a RedArc charger. So this RedArc charger, we were testing them, putting them on some trailers, doing some stuff on some motorhomes, but incorporating it on the trailer side. What this piece is Cimarron added this shortly after the 25 models came out as a standard feature with this jack and battery setup. But what this does is it does multiple things. One, it's a charger. It's a true 3-staging charger, so we can see where it's at as far as the staging process goes. It has different profiles, so if we wanted to change like lithium batteries, we want to do solar, we can actually go in and add those type of things and change the profile of it. Your truck would always work as a trickle charger to this battery right here, but it's very slow going. It is a trickle charge. So it was a little bit harder to kind of get those batteries charged up if it did get low. You'd have to drive extremely long distances, or have that truck running for a long time to really get it charged up. The RedArc guys actually like our term of this is a supercharger, because your truck will charge this battery at a much higher rate and keep this guy nice and full. So it's going to give a lot of life and longevity to the battery as well by keeping it charged like that as well. The other thing is that it allows us to see if we have power coming from the truck, and then it allows anything feeding back to the truck, you know, potentially causing issues there as well. So really nice piece that they put on these as a standard feature. Again, shortly after the 25 models, but you've got that. The battery disconnect is also really nice because this has got a ton of lights on it that I'm going to show you. So when you turn that guy, when I park this trailer, I want to turn that to the off position because it'll kill power to the trailer itself. So if we accidentally leave a broom closet light on, a tack light on, a manger light that I'll show you, if one of those accidentally get left on, it'll drain the battery. And that's not what we want. So when I park this trailer, I just turn it to the off position. I can walk away from it and it's not going to drain any of the battery down. This is equipped with air ride. So over here to the right of that battery box is going to be that self-contained compressor. You don't need a compressor on the truck, anything like that. It's all right here on the trailer. It's real simple to use. It's on off, it's lower raise. You've got a gauge to see where we're at for as far as actual, you know, pressure goes on it. We've got some videos on how to operate it and how to shut it down. We've got videos on how horses ride with it versus without it. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can show and send to you so you can see how to operate it and see what it does, but we will talk more and more about that. These are the switches right here for these dual jacks. So again, I can manipulate, you know, one or the other. I can lower, raise, you know, but again, I can run one or the other. The last piece we did was we put a light under here, and that's just because, you know, usually cab lights get blocked somewhat by the front of the trailer. So we just went ahead and put this one. Maybe you're not even hooked up to the truck and you're doing something right here. As long as we've got, again, that 12-volt battery charged up and on the battery disconnect on the on position, I can walk over here and hit this switch and turn this light on that lights up if I have to do anything underneath the actual gooseneck itself. This one is the wraparound style nose. When you get in these bigger trailers, that's what we're gonna put on them. You can actually kind of look to some of the trailers in the background. You're gonna get a VP style nose on those. You know, those are kind of more of our using trailers, but this wraparound style gives a ton of strength to these big trailers. And then also it's just that sleek look to the trailer itself, you know, when we get a finished product like this. Now, here's that trainer tack. So this guy's got the dual, you know, full size side trainer tack on this one with those dual doors. So as you can see on the doors themselves, I'll show you when we go to shut them up, but this left-hand door over here that we're looking at, the rear one, is gonna have this 2-point internal locking mechanism in it, but you've got aluminum powder-coated bridle hooks with carpet behind it. But these are nice to be able to easily access. Maybe it's just some halters, maybe it's a certain head stall, whatever it is, you know, right here from ground level. But we have more in the trailer that I'll show you here in a second. Brush trays, these are great. These end up being a catch-all. It's a little bit of everything can get thrown on these. Even one of our coworkers the other day just did a video of, hey, what's in yours? And I mean, you should have seen the stuff she was pulling out. It was like a clown car or something like that, you know. I mean, it was just the things that were coming out of it and the things that these catch. But these are handy to have to catch those items rather than just throwing them in the tack room themselves. So these are really handy. Over on the right-hand door, same thing. Set of hooks up high, brush tray down low. If you wanted to add more brush trays, we could do that. That's real simple through our parts and service department. And then as we look into the actual tack room itself, you're gonna see we have 3 recessed posts. Starting on the left, we've got one with 4-tier saddle rack. In the middle, we've got blanket poles. And then on the right, we've got more saddle racks. So we have a total of 8 on this. This is an 8-horse. We have 8 saddle racks. If you wanted to add more, you can. If you want to remove some, you can. If you want to adjust the spacing, you can. It's just literally loosening the nut on there, sliding it where you want, tightening it, or loosen it and slide it out of the top on that recessed post where they've got a circle cut up there at the top of it that hardware will just slide out really easily. And again, you can change sequencing. Do you want to put some blanket poles over with some saddles? Do you want to put some saddles in the middle? You can do that, and it gives you so much flexibility by having that. Everything's carpeted, so all the walls are carpeted, so it's going to protect everything. On the back wall, we've got 2 rows of bridle hooks. Again, carpet behind those. On the front wall of it, you're going to have another set of 2, high and low. And then we did put a 2-way roof vent up above there as well. That way you can, there's not windows on these doors, so you can open up that roof vent to create some airflow in here, air it out. We are gonna have some, saddles and blankets and pads, gonna have that sweat smell to it. So if you wanna air it out a little bit, you can by having that in there. The last piece is on the floor, and that's going to be this gray rubber flooring. We've incorporated this a lot lately on a lot of our trailers. It's really been well accepted. Instead of doing rubber mats that still have, some creases that, some gaps that dirt can get underneath, this is cut, sealed at the edges, and glued down. This stuff is extremely durable. Pay attention when you're like at the airport or, just places of high traffic. I notice on a lot of stairwells now, I didn't notice it till we started incorporating it on the trailers, but boy, does it get used quite often and in real high traffic areas. So again, it's got a lot of life and longevity to it as well by having that. And then again, I don't have to pull mats out to clean. I mean, I can just sweep and vacuum whatever I need to, and you're in business there. 2 fold-up steps. This trailer is aired up right now. So when we're talking about where I'm standing to this bottom rail, this trailer's aired up. It picks it up about 2.5, 3 inches. But instead of me having to step up to this lower frame, by having the step here, it makes a big difference on grabbing these saddles and any other tack we need out of here. When you are loading and unloading, maybe working off the trainer tack itself, have the trailer aired down because it's gonna lower it. So everything's closer to the ground. These steps will be closer to the ground. Our rear ramp that I'll show you here in a minute won't be as steep because we've lowered that box. So that's a real important piece to have as far as when we're working on that. And then there is an LED light on the inside of him. We've got 2 of them kind of right above each of those saddle racks there. So you have plenty of light on the inside. And then you've got a 16-inch awning on the outside right above, kind of splitting the tack there. So we wanted to make sure you had plenty of light on this trailer to work off of. So when we're shutting these, we're going to shut the left hand, or that rear one first, because it's got that 2-point internal locking mechanism. And then we're going to shut the forward facing door. Shut it, fold up your steps, really easy to operate. They're on gas shocks. And then this guy's got a deadbolt combo on it. So I don't necessarily have to have the keys to lock this guy up. I just need the code and I can lock that. So really simple, and that's a fantastic piece because sometimes it's, hey, who has the keys to the trailer? I don't necessarily have to have them as long as this guy's locked. This isn't. We can still get into this tack room by just punching the code in. White sheeting, that is standard. You can go to different colors. We can do some custom colors. Silver metallic, charcoal metallic, black. Those are probably the more popular options besides white. But we can do some customization. We can do some graphics. We can design those. We've got a sister company that is actually in the graphics business. So if you wanted to do a farm name, a brand, a logo, a ranch, anything like that, we can do a wrap on some of that, or we can, again, do some graphics and we can match colors and those type of items. Okay, getting back here to the stall area, you can see we did drop down windows on tail side on every hole on this guy here. So 8 drop down windows. You want to talk about airflow in that stall area, you've got it. We'll talk more about that when we get to the inside of the trailer itself. But as you can see, there's a bus window within each of them. So maybe you need to manipulate that airflow. Maybe you need to restrict it a little bit more. You can shut all these guys up. You can open the bus windows. Maybe you drop every other one and keep every other one closed with the bus window open. Again, just take it a case-by-case basis on what you need for airflow, but you at least have that flexibility here. If you live down south in the heat and humidity, this is fantastic to have all these drops on hip side of this trailer itself. Below it right now is the extrusion. You can kind of see it below those. So Cimarron's extrusion, really stout, giving a lot of strength to this trailer. This piece right up here is going to be an amber turn signal. We like putting that on a lot of our bigger, longer trailers, our living quarters, these trainer trailers, because our tail lights at the back of the trailer versus the truck, there's a big difference and a big gap between them. So a lot of people don't pay attention to trailers. So that guy there will actually indicate when we have our blinker on or when we hit our brake light, and it works as a great marker light for you too. It's a big marker light when you look down the side of this trailer. So again, that's a piece we like to add on. It's really small, but really beneficial, and we really like that. So speaking of lights, if we pan back up, there you get to see all those button lights on the top rail. So again, this trailer looks really cool at night with all those. And then there's 2 more of those 16-inch awning lights that we were talking about above the Tack one. So we did 3 on each side of this trailer. So you have 2 back here in this kind of horse area. They shoot down and out, and they're not the pedestal lights that protrude kind of up and off the trailer. Before we kind of go away, I've got the lid open on that hay pod right now, but I want you to pay attention that we have the lid and there's an extension. So it gives us so much more storage by having that extension on there. And then there's a deck back behind there. We'll show you that here in a few minutes when we get to that. But I wanted you to see it from the side to see that that does extend up a little bit and we have additional storage, not just what's underneath the lid itself. All right, let's talk about axles. If you want some running gear, this trailer has got it. These are 3 8,000-pound axles. We have spread, so it's a triple spread. 19.5-inch wheels with Continental tires. So again, you want to talk about running gear, this trailer has it with those big axles with the spread. Not to mention this trailer has air ride. I'm going to talk more about that here in a second. But then we also have those electric over hydraulic disc brakes. So massive stopping power, a lot of running gear underneath there. So the air ride system itself. This is the Dexter system, the Airflex system. So what we have is rubber torsion axles, we have shocks, and then we have the air, ride component that goes into play. So we have those bags, the lines, the compressor. If something happens, that compressor, a line, or a bag, this trailer will sit down on that rubber torsion axle, just like most trailers out there, and you can get to where you need to get something addressed. Old air ride systems, you couldn't move the trailers, so you were stuck. This is not the case. You can get to where you need to and get them addressed. So that's a nice feature to have for sure, just that flexibility. And then let's talk about that air ride. So if you want customer feedback, we can get you in touch with numerous customers that run these air rides. I guarantee you the majority of response that you'll get back I will never own another trailer without air ride. That's how much, once they have it, they're done. That's what they want, because they understand how well they pull, but more importantly, what it does for the horses. We've got some customers that'll tell you if they travel long distances to go to shows, they can cut a full day of recovery time off because of how well the horses ride on air ride. So that's less time away from home, that's less expensive being on the road, and other more hotel rooms and more labor on the road and meals away from home. So it does add up. So yes, this is an upgrade. You got to pay for that upgrade, but in the long run, for what it does for that aspect of it, but more importantly, what it does for the ride for the horses that are going to go compete at their highest level, step off this trailer fresh. There's no way we can ever probably truly figure out the value that it puts, just from the health standpoint for horses. Maybe less vet bills, maybe less, it's just less shock on the joints, to be real honest with you. And we've got a video of a similar trailer with 3 head of horses on there, and the middle horse tells the entire story, in my opinion. We have the trailer set down on the rubber torsion axle, so the air ride's off. And when he was traveling, he had spread out to brace himself. Ears were pinned, kicking the hip wall, not happy, not having a good experience. We stopped, we put the air ride on, did the exact same path. And the video on him, when the air ride was on, was completely 180. You would have thought it was a different horse. He was standing square underneath himself, ears forward, totally relaxed, never was making any noise, was not kicking the hip wall at all. Now just think about doing that for 5, 6, 8 hours, 10 hours. When they're on the trailer, those type of distances and lengths, they will be wore out by the time they get somewhere. So it's well worth it. We're big believers in it. We have a ton of air ride trailers here. We really like, when we're talking about building the trailer for a customer is, hey, at least covering the bases. Do you want to put air ride on here? Here's the benefits. Here's the cost of it. Do you want to proceed with air ride or non-air ride? So But again, we're big fans of it. We're gonna circle back to air ride when we get to the other side of the trailer, because there's an exclusive part that at Transwest we do, because the knock on triple axles is how they turn, right? So we've got a cure for that here in a second that we'll show you. But let's make our way around to the back of the trailer. I've got this ladder down. This is the easy angle ladder. I showed you the hay pod. There's a deck up there. So we're gonna show you some footage of what it looks like up there as far as that pod goes. Again, it's the pod with the extension. This guy here would, you know, we all kind of figure just kind of a rough estimate about 15 bales of hay in there. Obviously, it's gonna depend on the size of your bales, how you stack them, but you should be able to put an adequate amount of bales up in that pod, and it's sealed, so it's gonna keep them, you know, protected from weather. And then you've got the deck at the back. That's really nice when you're working off of it or loading. There's things that can be done after the fact, even to that. One of the popular items is airliner track that we've been putting down on the deck itself. And then guys can actually put maybe like, you know, their wheelbarrow up there or something and just strap it down, because it allows them to put that airliner track on that deck and put some hooks and strap items down up there if you want. But this easy angle ladder, instead of a bolt on that you have to go straight up the side, you know, this extends out and away from the trailer. So it makes that transition so easy getting up there. So if you're carrying items like hay bags or something like that that you need to go up and fill, you know, you can't do it holding on and trying to go up the straight side of it. So this easy angle ladder is fantastic. This is a piece that can be added to your trailer. So maybe you have a Cimarron, maybe you have another brand that has a bolt on. Our parts and service department can actually add on one of these to your trailer if you wanted to go that route. But we put them on all of our trailers. Unless a customer asks for a bolt on, it's getting an easy angle, because they are so fantastic. It's actually sets on this foot, and it locks into this vice latch as well. And this is the same key for the rest of the trailer, so I can actually lock this. Now this has got a ramp over, so it's not as big of a deal there, but if you wanted to secure it and just peace of mind, you can do that. So rear ramp load on this guy with a single door. So again, your horses, really easy to load. Again, this is aired up, keep that in mind. So when we lower it, it's actually gonna take away the, you know, some of the steepness that we have of this rear ramp. And then we've got the big door with the window in the back. So the window in the back is important because it does allow airflow to travel out. All right, we'll start working in here. You're gonna notice that these are padded dividers, airflow head grills on them. There's a lot to them, so we'll eventually get to the front of this trailer. But as you can see, these guys have springs. So it's wanting to pull them naturally towards driver's side, which is important. When we're loading and unloading horses, we don't want to have to hold dividers open. This trailer is tipped towards passenger side, so it's actually trying to work against us, but as you can see, these springs are pulling back. Well, one of the issues we were having on more of a stud divider was a single spring would only allow it to come to about here and just kind of stop, especially when it was tipped. If it was flat, it would want to work over to the wall. So we started doing double springs on our inventory, and here recently, Cimarron made it a standard feature on their stud dividers. So has a spring high and low. As you can see, this stud divider is actually wanting to pull over. But not only do we have one stud divider, we have two on this one. We understand it's an 8-horse. You want a lot of flexibility. This first one here is going to be a stud divider with the extended bars completely over the back and the hip. So maybe this is additional storage, or you just need to really separate somebody. But now you have the flexibility to have two of those stud dividers rather than the typical one. So definitely a nice feature there. There's always things that can go be added. Like if you want the hanging mats, you know, those could be added to those partial dividers. Even though this is a real custom trailer, there's always things that we can do to them after the fact to make it, you know, fit what you're looking for. In this first stall, this one doesn't have mangers on this door, so it's got the corner feeder, and then there's a bar that goes across the door. We'll open that up when we get to the outside there. Pad on that partition wall, and then kick mat all the way around. The one thing I give Cimarron so much credit for is everything is smooth. Everything has a radius, nothing's protruding out. You know, no sharp angles, no 90 degrees, it's smooth. So it's horse safety number one. So even our paddle latches, they're recessed into the wall. This is a cast aluminum piece that's been powder coated, and then a heavy UHMW plastic paddle latch itself. So when we shut these dividers, we don't have that metal to metal contact rattling, creating a ton of noise. So it's a lot quieter by having that set up there. And again, they're slam latches, so everything's one-handed operation. So if I'm leading horses, you know, I can keep their leader open in one hand, I can open dividers, they're held out of my way, I can shut them. You know, we don't have to hold a divider in spot to drop a pin in or anything like that. As you can see, even on the wheel well, you have more wheel well in this trailer because of the spread. But, you know, this allows to go in triple versus doing a tandem, especially jumping into like 9 and 10K axles. They sit deeper into the stall area. So this would be a much deeper wheel well and taller to accommodate those bigger axles. So we really like doing 8s just because, again, they're not as deep into the stall area. So it gives you a little bit more room to work with as far as, you know, what you're actually loading. Because when you push the box out to 8 foot, you get wheel well on the inside. But again, here's a good look. There's all those drop windows. So again, ton of airflow on this guy. And then there's 4 OptiBrite lights, those LED lights in here. They start off at 1, 3, 5, and 7. Ton of coverage. These guys will have plenty of light in this stall area by having those. Airflow again, 2-way roof vents all the way down. So some people might ask, well, why is this not an integrated roof? Couple things. We can build them that way if you want, but what happens is when you do the integrated roof, it drops the ceiling in the stall area in order to do that. So if we, for example, build this trailer at 7'10" tall, this roof height would be 7'3". Okay, so it's 7'4" right now. So in order for us to do that, we'd actually have to make the whole trailer taller, catch more wind, more material, more cost. So this one we opted, hey, let's just do 7'3", or 7'4", and then we can put all the roof vents with the pod up there. Because you lose, with that integrated pod, you lose some of that ceiling in order to put some of these roof vents in there. But you've got 2-way roof vents here, so we can manipulate airflow. Again, you probably notice a common theme, airflow. Drop windows on the hip, I'll show you them on the front, jail bars, 2-way roof vents, but that insulated roof, that is standard on every single Cimarron. So those ones you saw in the background, this one, LQ's behind us, they all have the exact same roof, which is really key for horses just from a comfort standpoint, because it keeps it 20% cooler than aluminum sheeted roofs. So think about that when you're traveling in the heat. Look at all these things we're doing to keep horses cool and comfortable. That roof makes a massive difference in just how they'll ride and just comfort level. The other thing is it's really strong. I can walk on it, it won't dent it. It'll take 150 pounds per square foot, takes substantial hail. So definitely a nice feature there. We actually just had a customer call the other day. We did a comparison, aluminum sheeted roof versus a Cimarron roof a while ago, and trailer he was gonna buy had aluminum sheeted roof, and they got hailed on, and he got looking and he found, you know, that video that we did showing the differences and how well the Cimarrons hold up versus the other trailers, and he's adamant he wants a Cimarron, and why not? I mean, that does make a big difference. So one, we're keeping horses comfortable, but it's going to protect our investment a little bit more. Not to say damage can't be done. Big enough hail will do damage, but it has to be pretty substantial. So again, we've got Mangers on this guy, so we'll show you all the doors on the outside of this, but you've got all of that. At the back, there is a drain plug, so you know, if you need to clean this guy out, you can pull the drain plug and nose it up a little bit, and that water will drain right out of the trailer itself. Okay, let's talk about the floor. This one here, as instead of rubber mats, we opted for Werm flooring. Really popular option, a lot, especially on our builds for customers. On our big custom trailers like this for inventory, they're gonna get Werm. It's a permanent, unpenetrable rubber mat. Customers are gonna want it, so let's just build it that way. I don't have to wrestle mats, number one, and number two, it's gonna protect my investment of this floor. We're not gonna allow urine to get down there to that aluminum and start to corrode it. So it's gonna protect that floor itself over time. Again, I don't have to pull mats out. Underneath it is the industry's best floor. So you're starting out with a strong foundation, just like you were building a house or building anything like that. This is a 12-inch extruded deck piece that locks in high and low like tongue and groove. 2 points of contact instead of one, so it's a lot more rigid, doesn't give all that flex. But what's really important is there 12-inch, on that 12-inch deck, you have 4-inch centers. There's a V-truss in the middle, but 4-inch centers, so those points of contact. So I know I threw a lot out there. Easiest way to explain it is, if you have a horse standing on this floor, they're standing on 1, if not 2 support beams anywhere they're at on the trailer. So you want to tell quality of an all aluminum trailer, crawl underneath and look at the floor. Closer centers, it's usually a much higher quality trailer itself. So this back stall is actually 3 inches longer, just to make sure this back divider stays solid. At times, trailers call for telescoping, but it is one more moving piece. So in this instance, we opted to put 3 extra inches in here, keep it solid. It can lay against the wall and you can shut the back door if you'd like. But we like doing that. So this back stall is a little bit bigger. You're gonna have a butt strap that goes across the opening, just because a bar would be massive in this instance. And when you take it down, it's gotta lay somewhere. So then you're fighting that. So in this instance here, we opted for the strap that goes across. All right, I'm gonna shut the back door on this because I wanna show you a couple things at the back. I showed you this easy angle ladder over here. Right over here to the left of that is gonna be all of our switches. So we have all these lights, those interior lights, the exterior lights. There's 2 load lights on this top rail at the back. So those are the 8-inchers there. But we have 2 of those. So all of these sides, the rear and the stall, are all on individual switches right there. So you can turn on wherever you want as far as where you're needing light coverage. And then with the ramp over, it's spring assist, and then just locks in. Now, if you look at these rear tail lights, you're gonna see a white X in them. And that is a built-in backup light. So when you throw your truck in reverse, again, 36 foot on the floor, an 8.2 nose, so our truck's a long ways away. We can throw it in reverse and we're gonna get some light coverage by having those. If you want additional, you can come back here and just turn on your load lights at the back and even get more light coverage if you're backing into unfamiliar places. I've seen some customers do that. They'll come, they'll turn on the backs, they'll turn on the side lights just so they see everything around them. Okay, when we work around here to driver's side, at that back stall, you probably notice a little bit more of a wall there. That's because we've got this broom closet for storage back here. This is a great place, another catch-all for items. Maybe you have a fold-up, wheelbarrow or something like that. You want to hang some forks. You've got the capability. Those hooks there are the utility hooks, so there's only 4 of those. But if you notice, versus this one on the door, they're spaced out a lot more. They're a lot deeper off. Height is roughly about the same, but you can hang some items there. They're 60 inches above the floor, so it's really easy to access. Carpet behind it, just in case. There is a light on the inside, so it's got a switch on the inside. Again, when I was telling you that lights, sometimes it accidentally get left on. This is one when this door is shut, you don't know the light's on. So, it's really easy to go ahead and turn that one on and off. And then on the door itself, we've got it carpeted with a set of bridle hooks, set of 6, aluminum powder coated on there. And then we can go ahead and lock it up. All these doors on this trailer are all key to like. Whether it's the drop-down feed doors, the doors on butt side, tack doors, that broom closet, that easy angle ladder, they all have one key. And then here's a good look at all those drop-down feed windows. So we have jail bars on all of them. Jail bars easily fold down. I'll show you that here in a second. The only difference is on the one on the escape door is gonna be a touch smaller, and that's just because we have the escape door. So stall is still the same size as the rest, but in order to put the door on there and the proper framing for it, you're gonna get a little bit smaller drop-down feed door there. So again, you got your jail bars on all these guys that come down. All you have to do is lift up a little bit and find the sweet spot in the track, and they will fold down. So if you need to offer more feed, some water, anything like that, you can do that really easily from that standpoint. They all have welded hinges with grease zerks. You probably noticed that maybe on some of the tack doors, the rear door, drop down feeds on the manger doors. They're all the same. So if you start getting a stiff hinge or a squeaky hinge, you can actually put some grease to it yourself and maintain it so much easier than a welded hinge with, you can't do that. You have to heat it up. I've seen holes drilled in them at the top, so they're trying to feed more, some type of lubricant in there to them. But you'll notice this little brass ring in between the two of them. Well, there's a rod that's connected to that goes this full length. And what it does is it actually has a swirl, like a groove cut into it, but it's swirled throughout that whole rod. And it's like, okay, picture a candy cane, it's that swirl. So you put grease to it, you open and close it, it's feeding grease throughout that entire hinge. So again, a lot simpler to maintain yourself by having that. All right, I'm gonna shut all these guys up just because I wanna show you all these mangers, because we got a lot of manger doors on this one. All right, we'll start at the back. So we have manger doors all the way down. Had a few of these. We went ahead and put some carpet with some more of those utility hooks on the wall there. So again, you can hang some items. We did multiple of those, but we did skip a few. You will notice in this back one, there's that tube I was telling you about where that has that plug and that drain in that back manger. So when you pull that plug, it'll drain right out the bottom of the trailer. Before we work forward, that brings up a reminder to myself. This guy here has the bogie wheels at the back and a 12-inch skid plate. You know, you have a fair amount of trailer behind the back axle, so when you go through big dips, instead of dragging this trailer and maybe damaging something underneath there, it's got those bogie wheels and that skid plate. So it'll catch those bogie wheels as you're, you know, going in a forward motion. It's gonna just pick up that box at the back and just transition you out of there without doing damage. So again, a lot of mangers on it with it being an 8-horse. You know, there's another set of hooks. We're transitioning forward. Here's another set of hooks here. And then inside these guys too, you actually have to turn them on yourself, but there is LED lights in here. These here are on the individual switch, so you actually have to reach in and turn these on. So remember when I mentioned that battery disconnect? Had time and time again where somebody has bumped some, maybe pulling a bucket out, pulling something out where they hit a light. They don't think it's on, but again, when this door is shut, you don't know it's on. So that's why that disconnect really comes into play. Okay, now all of a sudden we transition to this front door here. This one here is like a double manger, but we understand that at times, instead of reaching in those small ones, it makes it so much easier to be able to really easily access some items. And this one here has got, you know, this covers multiple stalls, but boy, you want to be able to access some bigger stuff, you've got it here. And then they're on this gas shock, on 2 gas shocks on this one here. So it opens up really easily. And then when you go down, it just actually naturally takes it itself. And then you've got your escape door. Like we mentioned, there's that bar that went across that. There's that corner feeder as well. So if I need to access the stall area, I can from right here. Now, on the back side of that front, or trainer tack is gonna be this front dressing room. So what we have on the door, we've got another brush tray for you. Again, catch some items there. We've got that step, so it's really easy to come in here. As we come in, on the drop wall, you're gonna have a boot box, 12-inch boot box. So again, another item, or another space that can catch a lot of items, smaller ones from moving around. You can use it as a step to hop up into the gooseneck area. You've got an LED light up in the nose there. Windows, get you some airflow, that type of deal. It is framed for an air conditioner or a 12-volt fan, something along those lines, manual crank if you wanted that. If you wanted an AC, you gotta add a power package. But we have 12-volt for a 12-volt fan if you want, and manual crank is really easy to do. Clothes bar over on the left-hand side. So we've got that, so you can hang clothes there, not taking up space in the back of the truck. Again, it's 7'4" tall, so we've gone a little bit taller as it is, so it gives us a little bit more height in there. And then behind me on this part, back side of that trainer tack is a shelf. It's an 18-inch deep, 2-inch lip, runs the length of this. We taper it at the front there, just to make that transition going up in the nose a little bit easier and going up and squaring it, tightens it. So we've tapered that. And then there's another clothes bar underneath there, so we can throw a lot of clothes actually up here, garment bags. Again, they're not taking up space in the truck. And then carpet all the way around on these partition walls here just to protect items. Set of hooks on the partition wall, aluminum powder coated again, LED light right above the door. So again, we have light coverage here. We like putting them up in the nose too, just because it kind of gets a little dark around that corner. The ones above the tack door will be standard, but we like putting that in there. And then on the floor, you're getting that gray rubber flooring again. So again, that's going to protect the floor really well by having that. And again, it's so easy to clean up. All right, on this front dressing room door, you are going to have another deadbolt combo lock. So same thing that you saw in the trainer tack, we can actually just walk over here and shut that and lock it up by this. And again, not necessarily needing the key. As long as this isn't locked, we can just use those codes. Fold up step, you know, again, really easy to operate. With it being 8 wide, you have no running board. So that's why it's also important to have that. Now, we have talked about triple axle and how well they ride, but the knock on them is how they turn. They're a lot more difficult to turn, especially when we get into asphalt in the summer, when it's real hot and the tires are warm, they want to dig in. If you've ever turned a triple axle and watched them, everything's fighting each other. Everything's going different directions. It puts a lot of stress on the tires, the sidewalls, the hubs, you know, our axles just in general. So this is an exclusive feature that we put on our triple axle air rides here at Transwest, but that's an air dump. So what we can do is we can actually dump air out of one of the axles and make this turn more like a tandem. Now, it doesn't physically pick up that axle or those wheels and tires off the ground, but it takes all the weight and shifts them back to where that front axle is just going to skate. So again, we have that pressure off of it. So we put the dump on the front axle so it shifts the weight to the back 2 axles, puts a little bit more weight on the truck as well. By, you know, when we move that weight away from the truck, it puts more tongue weight on it. So it actually takes a little bit of that weight off the trailer. So when we go to turn, it's going to turn a lot easier. So what we have is, we've got this indicator light right here that we add. And what that does is we can sit in the pickup, in the driver's seat, and look in the mirror. And we get this fob, and I can hit it. And this guy will pulsate, so it flashes at us. You probably can't hear it, but right now it's dumping the air out of here. And I'll try to get a little bit closer with my mics here. Maybe you can hear it. But what it's doing is it's taking the weight from that bag there and it's shifting to these 2. So again, now we've got weight off this front axle. It's just going to skate. We can turn this like a tandem. And then when we're done, if you want to get going, you hit the off button. Again, from the seat of your truck, that light goes off. So I know that it's off. We like putting it right there, kind of at that driver's eyesight, looking in that rear view mirror. We used to do just a solid light, and now we do it so it flashes, so it catches your eye. So you got to be careful on where you put the fob in your truck. Don't put it in like your cup holder where like you can set your cup down and maybe hit it on accident, because we don't want that to happen. But when it flashes, then we know it's on. So we know that that air is dumped. You don't want to be rolling 75, 80 miles per hour and have it off, because we don't have the weight on there. So if you hit your brakes really hard, there's no real resistance there. So you can flat spot a tire. So again, just be cautious of where it's at, but this makes such a massive difference. We do this on all of our big trailers like this, our living quarters. We have so many customers wanting this because of, they want the option and the benefit of pulling a triple axle and how well they ride, not to mention air ride triple axle. But now when it goes to turn, it makes it so much simpler to hit that button, dump that air, and then turn it off and put air back to it. It's not instantaneous, so you got to give it a minute. Like I just heard the compressor kick on because we've dumped some air. Now I've got it back to that, so it's wanting to push air back to the actual axle itself. So that kind of covers about everything on this trailer. I'm going to give you the stock number for reference. I'm sure there's maybe a couple things I missed. It has so much on it. But again, it's a 2026 Cimarron Norstar 8-horse trainer tack air ride. Stock number is 5N250394. We do take trade-in, so if you're looking to upgrade or downsize, we can help you there. Financing is available and delivery is an option, so we could potentially bring this to your door. So give us a call. Anybody on the sales team can help you out. That number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.